Hello, my name is David Cole and I'm Technical Director for Samfield Penstock Solutions, and today I'm going to talk about effluent treatment plants, or an ETP. So an effluent treatment plant is what a large industry, or an industry that's producing a lot of effluent waste, that they might use it to balance their effluent, so they've got a more controlled substance that they can discharge potentially straight back into the river, into watercourse, or to the effluent treatment process through a water company's drainage. But by reducing that, they reduce their waste, so they reduce the treatment that's got to be done by others and reduce their costs. Excellent. So effluent waste comes really from the process. So we're not really talking about it for industry. In our sense is toilet waste and hand washing and toilet waste. We're looking here really as what's used, where they use water and liquids within the process. So you might see them at a brewery, you definitely see them at probably a milk producing business. Anybody really that's producing and using a lot of materials might have an effluent treatment plant. So what you've normally got with an effluent treatment plant is you've normally got bulk storage. It's a bulk storage of either of chemicals that's used to obviously balance the effluent treatment plants. You've got different processes involved, and you've normally got quite a large capacity of actually storage of raw effluent before it's processed and then after it's processed. So you can have large bulk volumes of material. If that was lost, instead of it just being a small amount of material that was lost and it goes down the sewer, it actually potentially could infringe on the surface water drainage network, which means you could suddenly release a huge, 30 cubes of some sort of toxic chemical that's held within these tanks. So the impact is that if you're holding that sort of material, you've got to have a design then around it that means the tertiary containment system, that if it did fail, it's not going to end up in the rivers or in the streams or in the ocean. Well, an effluent treatment plant really, you could look at it really, you've got normally a below ground potentially discharge point where it goes across through a little knife gate or a weir, which allows it back into the waterways or into a sewage treatment farm. And then you'll normally have bulk storage, so the material comes into a balancing tank which is sat there. That then may be processed. It could be a huge reservoir that's actually holding dirty water, waiting while there's a bit of anaerobic digestion. There's all sorts of different processes that can go involved. They can be putting different chemicals into it to balance it. But basically what you're doing is you're taking a dirty process and you're bringing it down to a balanced process, so you can release it into the environment, which is obviously relatively clean water, so it's virtually down to the sort of levels of rainwater, or back to a sewage treatment farm, but a much lower level, so it's not out of balance, it's a pretty constant discharge. So once you've put an effluent treatment plant in, you may have had permit changes, because obviously you've now got much more bulk storage that you probably didn't have before your process of having an effluent treatment plant. You might have just been discharging to the water company every day, specific rate. You might have had some small or smaller bulk storage, but by putting an effluent treatment plant in, you're probably now having a much bigger bulk storage of material at any one time. So what you've got to look at is, if that equipment did fail, a pump fails, can you control it and keep it on site? So this is quite a new area, and we're experiencing as a business is a question that's being asked by customers that are buying or installing or running effluent treatment plants. What they're finding is the regulator, the Environment Agency, is turning up and saying, can you address Sirius 736? You've got all this bulk storage of chemicals. What happens if you have a catastrophic failure of the equipment? Can you contain it on site and not cause a pollution release? And that's actually been one area that we found new, and we found quite an interesting area for us to get involved in. And we've been asked continuously, the question is, we have this huge amount of stored chemicals and effluent waste. If we have a failure, the regulator's saying, well, where does it go? And immediately we know that if it was lost and it was a catastrophic failure, it would actually enter the surface water drainage network straight away, just as the material had gone. So we've been asked now, and our customers have been asked, to actually implement a system so that if they did have a release, a tanker fail or a bulk delivery hose fail, that they can actually stop it and hold it where it is, and it's not actually going into the surface water network. So like I just said, in recent times we've had phone calls from sites that are implementing a new effluent treatment plant, which has created a requirement for changes to their environmental permits, which has brought the regulator on site. And the regulator's question is, right, how have you addressed with this new piece of equipment, Sirius 736, and your water pollution containment? What's your bund going to look like? And they can be looking at quite a large vessel and saying, well, you've got 80 cubes of a material, we need to see 110% bunding around that particular vessel, which can in itself cause problems because some of these effluent treatment plants, some of these sites are quite restrictive in space. So to actually put a bund around a tank that you've already built or you've got in place or you're looking at is actually probably very restrictive. Almost probably in some sites we've been to is actually impossible. There isn't the room, which means what do you do? Do you not have an effluent treatment plant, though your production needs it, but you can't actually put in the water pollution containment containment system to actually hold it. So what we look at then is using obviously our techniques to look at the Syria guidance, looking at the tertiary area, looking at how you control it using containment valves on the surface water network. So these sites are now looking at this, and this is an area that we have to get involved with on a much more daily basis. So I think if I was looking at putting in a new effluent treatment plant, which means potentially you're going to be changing your permits, which means we know that the Environment Agency is going to get involved because they're going to be looking at what you're doing, and they're probably going to guide you and say we need to look at your containment. We'd be saying you want to use our 6-point technique, which is 1, regulation. Then you want to look at how does regulation implement to your particular site. What is the risk assessment? What is your risk and the potential of harm to your site from a pollution event? Then you need to design that system so you understand what it's going to look like. Then you need to build it and you need to implement it and put it in place. Then you need to monitor, maintain and document the system that you've put in place. And when guidance changes, you need to be able to move your system along with changes to guidance. If you need any further information, just contact us or visit our website on www.penstocksolutions.co.uk.